Hi, everybody. My name is Keith Freeze, and I can't believe we're entertaining this conversation, but we're going to do it anyway. Um, Shining a light on clickbait like this, I get it. I can understand if you're watching this video thinking that I'm trying to clickbait you into watching this video. No, I'm really not. I'm actually going to go way against this. Uh, but I kind of wanted to give examples about how kind of just absurd these things can be without adding some context or just common sense thinking with it. Um, so there is a person named Eklund, okay, and Eklund lately has kind of become this, I don't know, internet sensation amongst hockey fans as being some kind of insider, some guy that has connections within the world of the NHL, and he will post about the rumblings or rumors that he hears from his insiders. But he uses the name Eklund for anonymity or whatever. Okay, uh, that's at least what I know of him. And if I've gotten that wrong, that's the only thing I know about him. I really don't entertain these kind of things. I don't have enough time during the day to really truly care. So that's what I know of Eklund. Okay, but Eklund most recently about the Kings said that they were possibly in on the sweepstakes to get Patrick Laine. So if that gives you context for the kind of things that he's rolling out, there you go. But as you can see on the screen, and maybe you read ahead while I was laying all of that out, Eklund is suggesting that from his insiders, he believes the LA Kings are really pushing hard to get Igor Shesterkin. Now, I personally was speaking to my insider, Belliot Breedman. And what Belliot Breedman was saying is that don't believe everything you read. So thank you for that advice, Belliot Breedman. But anyway, we are going to read this, okay, from Eklund. Here it is. It says, text from a source. The Kings are working up a mega trade offer to the New York Rangers for Igor. They have dealt with goaltending issues, and they have been extremely open about their desire for Shesterkin. They would put an 8-year max extension on his plate, not calling this collusion since teams talk to players' agents in common with other teams' players often, and Shesterkin turning down the mega offer 2 days back is a good indication he knows there are teams out there who would go higher. Now, he mentions in that the Kings would offer Shesterkin an 8-year max extension. The way I understand it is that if a player signs as a free agent, they can only sign up to 7 years with a new club. If they are extending their with a new contract with the current team that they're on, they can sign up to 8 years. So he's saying that the Kings would offer Shesterkin an 8-year max extension, which would mean that the Kings would have to do a sign and trade with the New York Rangers to get Igor Shesterkin. So number one, that's already an eyebrow raiser for me because I'm sitting there thinking, we just watched the Kings do this with Pierre-Luc Dubois. Like, we know that it can be done, but it left a sour taste in the fans for the LA Kings. But at the same time, you look at the assets that were given up to get Pierre-Luc Dubois, which was they had to trade Sean Durzi to the now Utah Hockey Club to get a second-round pick, and then they took that second-round pick and immediately flipped it in this deal for Pierre-Luc Dubois with Gabe Vilardi, Rasmus Kupari, and Alex Iafallo. So they gave up 4 pieces to get 1. I would argue that if we're talking about the players that they gave up, I think Gabe Vilardi and Sean Durzi were probably the biggest hits in that deal to try and give up. I think Rasmus Kupari could elevate, but right now I think he's still trying to come into his own. And Alex Iafallo is a solid plug-in middle six guy. So they did give up four pieces. Do I think that they broke the bank ultimately? No, I don't. But if you feel like they did, okay. Like, I'm not going to argue with you on that. If you feel like the Kings gave up everything that they had to get Pierre-Luc Dubois, okay. But I don't think that they did. I think they gave up some solid pieces. I don't think they sold the farm. I'm saying that to say that if they go and get Igor Shesterkin on a sign and trade, they're going to give up the farm. They're going to give up everything. The only person that would be not on the table from the Kings' perspective would be Quentin Byfield. I am telling you right now, if they are doing a sign and trade to get Igor Shesterkin, that means they're going to have to give up Brandt Clarke. You think that the New York Rangers are just going to give up Igor Shesterkin and be happy that they got something in return? No. There's plenty of teams out there that want Shesterkin that have plenty of assets to offer. In the same way, I'm right now, just in my head, I'm thinking about like the Detroit Red Wings as an example. If the Detroit Red Wings did this, they'd either have to give up a Moritz Seider or a Lucas Raymond. You can't keep both in this kind of deal. You got to give up one of your top prospects. And when I say top, I mean a guy that is your centerpiece for the future. So Brandt Clarke or Quentin Byfield would have to be included in this deal. And in my opinion, it would be Brandt Clarke. Brandt Clarke would end up going to the New York Rangers if the Kings do a sign and trade deal to get Igor Shesterkin. Now, part of this is looking at how much Igor is currently making versus what he would be making. Okay. So currently he's making, I think, like 5.666, whatever, like $5 2/3 million currently. And there are a handful of players for the Kings that are in that $5 million range, like Gavrikov or Kempe, Deneau, and even Darcy Kemper. So you're going to tell me, just to make the money work, that we can trade Darcy Kemper, Brandt Clarke, and maybe a first-round pick to get Igor Shesterkin now? Like, do you think that the New York Rangers think that that would be a nice return? Maybe Brandt Clarke in the first-round pick sounds good. But I would certainly think that if you're giving up arguably the best goaltender in the entire NHL, you're giving him up for that? Like, I think that we're not even at the starting point of a conversation, if I'm going to be honest with you. And at the same time, if you're the Rangers fans, are you happy with that return? Hell no. And you're going to be giving the GM a whole bunch of crap, just like the Kings gave Rob Blake a bunch of crap for the PLD trade. And again, the PLD trade was 4 assets. You expect the Kings to give up just these 3 assets and it's all good? No. So the asking price for Shesterkin for a sign and trade would be incredibly high, okay? Now, it does say, too, that the Kings are willing to offer a max deal. And so, like, what? Like, I'm sorry. I'll even use the specific wording that they're saying. They're saying a mega trade offer. So, again, that just says that they'd have to give up a whole bunch of pieces to get him, okay? And that if Igor is turning down this other offer that he's already been given from the New York Rangers for 8 years, $88 million a season, that's $11 or $88 million over the contract. So that's $11 million per season. You really think that the Kings have the cap space and the cap money to do that? So let's just say, hypothetically, that the trade went through where they traded Kemper, Clarke, and a first-round pick to get Igor Shesterkin, okay? That goes through. Let's just say it goes through, okay? So right now, currently, you can make the money work. You can take on the rest of Igor's contract for this season. The money matches up because of Kemper and Clarke. Everything's good, right? Well, now, if he's turning down an $11 million per season extension with the New York Rangers, and he might want Leon Draisaitl money, he may want $14, $15 million a season. Now the Kings have to unload a whole bunch of guys that they maybe don't want to get rid of. A Phil Deneau, a Trevor Moore, an Adrian Kempe, a Kevin Fiala. Like, it spirals. This is not, oh, we get to add another guy, right? This isn't basketball where you can pay a penalty. And I'm going to bring up the Lakers real quick because I want to give context. I think this is a great example, okay? The year that the Lakers traded to get Anthony Davis from New Orleans, they gave up Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, Josh Hart, and 3 first-round draft picks, one of which was a 4th overall pick. Okay? So the Lakers gave up the farm to get Anthony Davis. They already had LeBron James there, so all they were trying to do was make that 2-man pairing. Here's my argument. Anthony Davis was set to be a free agent the following summer, meaning that he wouldn't have been able to get that one extra year because I think the NBA and the NHL are the same in that way. I think if you sign with your parent club, you get that one extra year. So he wouldn't have gotten that one extra year if he signed as a free agent with the Lakers, okay? But the bigger point is this. If you didn't give up those assets to try and trade for Anthony Davis and you just signed him as a free agent, because, you know, you are the Lakers, by the way. You have the resume and the history to sign superstars like that. And, oh, by the way, you've already got LeBron James in-house. It wouldn't be like it would be that hard for him to talk to his buddy and say, hey, come over to LA, right? So let's just say Anthony Davis, because he probably was going to, would have signed as a free agent with the Lakers. The truth is that had he done that and not been part of a trade, they would have had Anthony Davis, LeBron James, plus Brandon Ingram, plus Lonzo Ball, and all their draft picks still in-house. So the point is that they sold the farm to go get Anthony Davis a year early. And my concern, going back to the Kings, is that if you sell off the farm to get Igor Shesterkin, what pieces do you have around him to make it competitive for you as a team to go win a Stanley Cup? That just doesn't make any damn sense to me. Igor Shesterkin is a great goaltender. I will even say he is in the top 3 goaltenders for the NHL right now. But the point is that if you go and get this guy and you're paying him $14-15 million a year, you can't at this point in his career unload a Drew Doughty. I love Drew Doughty. I don't want him to go anywhere, but his cap space is crazy. Okay? His $11 million is insane. The only way that you could get an Igor Shesterkin to come to the from the Rangers to the Kings is if you had an extra amount of $15 million of cap space to make it worth your while. Because let's just say this. Let's just say Drew Doughty is not on the roster. Let's just say his $11 million is off the table. That's still $4 million that you have to account for to pay Igor Shesterkin, which means you are trading off a Trevor Moore who's making $4.2 million. Okay. So, but since you're not going to get rid of Doughty, I don't want to get rid of Doughty. And on top of that, he probably doesn't want to go anywhere. Well, then guess what? Now you got to trade again. Like I said, you got to trade a Deneau, a Moore, an Adrian Kempe, a Kevin Fiala. You got to sell the farm. You know, a Warren Fogle, even though he just got there, a Joel Edmondson, even though he just got there. You can't sit there and say, oh, it's just so easy to go make these trades. I'm speaking to Eklund, by the way. Like, he should know better with common sense and logic than to be just posting these things for clickbait, because it's insane. Like, the logic of this makes absolutely zero sense. And oh, by the way, for the Kings goaltending, I'm just going to say this. Cam Talbot was solid last year. Darcy Kemper is already looking good this year. Or Eric Portillo is supposed to be taking over next year. And then you've got Hampton Slakinski and Carter George coming up that will be ready around the time that this contract is ending. And oh, by the way, like going back to the whole goaltender trading thing, Darcy Kemper if they can't unload him to the Rangers and they have to hold on to a Darcy Kemper, that's over $20 million if you sign Igor Shesterkin to a $15 million. That's over $20 million that you are spending on 2 goaltenders. That, again, logic is completely out the window with clickbait bullshit like this. I'm going to call it what it is. It's bullshit. This makes absolutely no sense. And at the same time, the point about the goaltenders that I was trying to make is that by the time that this contract would be ending, if he signed as a free agent for 7 years or they did a sign and trade and got him for 8, by the time his contract is starting to wind down, a guy like Slakinski or Carter George may be ready to go. They may already be playing in the NHL for three seasons of Igor's last 3 years on his deal with the Kings. It could be. So why sell off the farm? If you feel like you're this close, if you feel like you've made all of these correct roster moves and you've gotten into a position where you can be a cup contender, why would you sell off everything for this? There is no money. There's no money to make this deal. There's no trade pieces that the Kings have to make this deal. I hate to say it. The Rangers, for this kind of deal to happen, the only way I could see it was if like somebody went and traded an Austin Matthews for Igor Shesterkin straight up. Something like that. There's no way that you can make this deal if you are the Kings and come to them and say, I will offer you X, because the Rangers are going to go, you don't have anything I want. So for Eklund to look at whatever, the text from a source, was his source Waldo? Like whoever. So the point is I can, guess what? I just got a text from my buddy Belliot Breedman. Hold on. I'm reading the text right now. Again, it says, don't believe everything you read. Okay. So again, thank you for the insight, Belliot. I appreciate it. I'll call you later. But the point is that this is just insanity. And Eklund knows better. It's all clickbait. And if it does happen, fine. But I'm telling you the cautionary tale. You're going to have to give up a lot to get Igor. And I just don't see it happening. And I just don't care that it would happen. Quite honestly, nothing against Igor Shesterkin, great goaltender. But I'm not going to give up the entire team to build around one guy. I'm just not going to do it. Either way, my name is Keith Freeze. Thank you for checking out this video. And as always, go Kings, go.